Today we are going to write the quadratic function in intercept form and give the functions zeros. Now technically we are not doing anything different from what we've done the last several days. Intercept form means factored form. So we have an equation written in standard form, we need to factor it. Once it's factored, it will be written in intercept form. The function's zeros, that is a fancy way of saying the x-intercepts. When we first talked about the concept of x-intercepts, I said that there were three phrases that represented the x-intercepts. The x-intercepts, the zeros of the function, and the solutions of the function. So everything that we've been doing, factoring, solving by factoring, that's the same stuff that we're doing today. So y equals x squared minus 3x minus 40, we need to factor this. So we would look for a pair of numbers whose product is negative 40 and whose sum is negative 3. What pair of numbers will do that? 1 times 40, 2 times 10, 4 times, or 2 times 20, 4 times 10, 5 times 8. Negative 5 and positive 8. You're right. It would be positive 5 and negative 8. Because our a value is 1, there isn't a number other than 1 in front of our x squared. We can simply write this as factored form. X plus 5, x minus 8. That is factored form, which is the same as intercept form. So taking this equation written in intercept form, what are the x-intercepts? The x-intercepts are negative 5 and positive 8. It's the same as doing 0 equals in place of y equals. What number plus 5 would give us 0? Negative 5. What number minus 8 would give us 0? Positive 8. So the zeros are negative 5 and 8. This means that if we were to take our graphing calculator and punch in x squared minus 3x minus 40 and tell the calculator to graph it, this parabola would cross the x-axis at negative 5 and positive 8. All right, number 9. Number 9, you might notice that there's a number in front of x squared, so you might be tempted to do 3 times negative 15 and then do the factor by grouping. But the first thing that you should always check is, do these 3 terms have anything in common? 3. So we can do y equals 3 parentheses, and we can divide each of these terms by 3. 3x squared divided by 3 is x squared. Negative 12x divided by 3 is negative 4x. And negative 15 divided by 3 is negative 5. Now we're basically going to ignore the y equals 3 and just factor what's inside these parentheses. So we are looking for 2 numbers whose product is negative 5 and whose sum is negative 4. That will be 1 and negative 5. And because our a value is 1, we can simply do parentheses x plus 1, parentheses x minus 5. You just need to remember that there's y equals 3 in front of those parentheses. Now the 3 really doesn't affect anything because we can't make 3 equal 0 because 3 equals 3. So the first set of parentheses, x plus 1, what value of x would make x plus 1 equal 0? Negative 1. So one of our x-intercepts is negative 1. Our other x-intercept is positive 5. So x-intercepts, zeros, whichever term you want to use, They want us to write the function in intercept form, did it. And they want us to give the functions zeros, did it. The other kind of problem you're going to see today is area of rectangle problems. There is a mistake on your notes. If you could please correct it so that the bottom part of this rectangle says x minus 13 and not 13x. So cross out that x at the end. How do we find the area of a rectangle? Length times width. So our length is x, our width is x minus 13. They're telling us the area of this rectangle is 48, so I put this equal to 48. Now this looks like factored form, but because it says equals 48, we can't say that x is 0 and 13 because we can only do that if we have equals 0. So step number 1 is going to be to multiply this out. So distribute the x. So x squared minus 13x equals 48. Your next step is to get one side equal to 0. What should we do to make this be equal 0? Subtract 48 on both sides. So we have x squared minus 13x minus 48 equals 0. Your next step is going to be to factor. So we are looking for two numbers whose product is negative 48 and whose sum is negative 13. This one's a little harder, but some of you have it already. 3 and negative 16. Because our a value is 1, we can simply throw 3 and negative 16 into the parentheses. X plus 3, x minus 16 equals 0. There's our factored form. Your next step is to solve. And not only solve, I want you to solve and think. Yes, I'm going to ask you to think. Apparently, I'm a terrible person. What is these solutions for x plus 3 and x minus 16 equals 0? Negative 3 and x equals positive 16. Okay, now the think part. Take a look at the picture. The left side of this rectangle is supposed to have a length of x units. Can that rectangle be negative 3 units on one side? No. So negative 3 is out. That is an extraneous solution. Extraneous. Extraneous. An extraneous solution is a solution that appears to work based on how we solve the problem. So mathematically, x equals negative 3 is a solution. But realistically, because we're talking about length of sides, negative 3 and negative 3 minus 13 would give us negative side lengths, and that's not possible. So x equals 16 is our actual solution. This rectangle is going to have the dimensions 16, and then what is 16 minus 13? 3. So 16 and 3 are going to be the dimensions of this rectangle. It's obviously not drawn to scale. Obviously not drawn to scale. Massively not drawn to scale.